The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash,
A roundtable of Cowboys insiders
dropping wisdom
and offering sizzling takes
on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys.
Now, your host,
Newy Scruggs.
Yes, sir. Time to go. Let's ride here at the Star Frisco SWBC Podcast Studio. It is the Media Mash. Joe Hoyt, Ed Werder, got Clarence Hill. I'm Newy Scruggs. We've just left the retirement press conference for Tyron Smith of the Dallas Cowboys, number 77. And Ed Werder, I will start with you.
Okay.
Jerry Jones said he's going in the Ring of Honor. He said he's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You are in the Canton Writers Wing of the Hall of Fame. How will you welcome this?
I'm acknowledged. I'm not sure there's really a writer's wing, but
I mean, Goose is in. You're in. I mean, y'all got the same. Who's your classmates?
my classmates, I followed Chris Mortensen, actually. Okay. Andrea Kramer came after me.
Goose
Williams.
Goose once famously said, "Oh, he was in. Talking about what a player. He was in my class."
Jerry was actually inducted the same year I went. Ironically enough,
Jerry's in your class.
There you go.
I mean, me and Jerry in the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. And I was just talking to Zach Martin about this because we saw him retire just a couple weeks ago in the same building, and it was like, how do you have all these great, potentially Hall of Fame players, and all of them leave without ever playing in a championship game, much less a Super Bowl? And I mean, Jerry even said it, right? He said it's a tragedy that we never played a Super Bowl with you out there at left tackle. And, you know, also you forget that the guy was 20 years old when they drafted him with a ninth overall pick from USC.
Right tackle there. Yeah.
You know, obviously Hudson Howe coached at USC and was a big advocate of his, and we'll tell you he had everything it took to be great, especially the desire to be great beyond all the physical skills. But for Jerry to say he was the youngest player in the NFL, his first 2 seasons in the NFL, is quite remarkable, and that he had the highest character grade of any player in that draft. And you just look at him now, you're like, he looks like a rookie now. Yeah. I mean, that incredible body cut. I mean, he's over 300 pounds, and he looks like he's 250.
Yeah. I was talking to Dak, and he said he's down to 290, and like Zach Martin's already down to 270. But, yeah, he looked like he can still play. It's interesting when you bring up him not being able to win and the regret. And these great players, another great player leaves here. And I've been ranting about this for a while. Jerry gets the blame, right? And you list the quarterbacks to get the blame. It's Dak or Romo, you know, and we never attach the failure to the Wittens of the world or the Zachs of the world or the Tyrons of the world, of all the guys who've come through here and have not had success. But it's always attached to Jerry or attached to the quarterback, and they're the ones who can't get it done. But we don't really attach it to these other great players. And I'm just saying that, yes, it's disappointing. You know, you see time and time again, and I think that's why one reason why Cowboy fans fall in love with players, because that's all they have to hold on to, because they don't have the Super Bowl success. And so it's just another great player. And at the end of the day, it's not all just Jerry. It's on the players. They all carry some of that weight.
I spoke to, I'm going to be here, but I spoke to DeMarcus Ware one-on-one, and the question I said to him, you got the ring. You had to leave. But what do you think's going through their minds to have this kind of press conference, and they're not going to get what you had? They'll end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, like you, but they won't have that ring and say, man, it's got to be really hard to be that good and to be, you know,
Zach Martin said it's a blemish on all of our records.
Yeah. I asked D. Ware the same thing. He said when Tyron talked about it, his regret of not winning, he said he looked in Dak's eyes, he looked at Zach's eyes, and he saw them all, you know, feeling that left, that's something regret. That was regret, you know, and so, you know, it's tough, you know, and the frustrating about us as media people, we always want to put it on one thing, and we always want to put it on one person or one thing. This is why they haven't won in 30 years, or this is why they couldn't get it done. And it's not just one thing. It is not just one person.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the fact that DeMarcus Ware had to leave to get that ring, because when you look at the careers of Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, they also made an investment in the Cowboys. Tyron Smith signed an 8-year deal. That's kind of unheard of. He wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy for the rest of his life, but also to win a title here. It didn't happen. It is kind of a tragedy, and to your point, there's a lot of reasons why it didn't happen. You kind of look at some of the things that happened in the postseason, and if this would have happened, if that would have happened, ultimately it didn't. And these guys are going to go in the Hall of Fame one day without rings on their fingers.
How can you have all that talent and never have a good enough team in any of those years?
Because they had great talent on offense. They weren't great on defense. Like look at the Eagles. They had a great offensive line. They got the quarterback. They got the receivers. They got a great running back. They also got the number one defense in the league. I mean, the Cowboys never put it all together, and so we focused on the line, the great wall, but we don't focus on what was lacking on the defensive side of the ball, why they can't stop the run, which is ultimately, what failed them. And you brought up D. Ware had to leave. No, the Cowboys cut him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in order to get a ring, it wasn't here.
I know, but it wasn't like he left on his own volition. Okay, if the Cowboys wouldn't have cut him, he'd have stayed in, and he'd probably still be ringing.
He would have been one of those guys.
Yeah, he'd be one of those guys. He left. They cut him.
Yeah. But it wasn't here, is my point.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think the most amazing thing about Tyron Smith, and to me, this kind of says it all about how great he was, despite not playing on a championship or Super Bowl contending team, is he got drafted before J.J. Watt, who was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL in Houston, and not one person has ever said, how could we have taken Tyron Smith over J.J. Watt?
You are very, very correct about that. And I remember that draft, and it was so many years of holding on to Flozell Adams. You're like, okay, when are they going to replace him? When are they going to replace him? And they finally decided, okay, we've got to make this move. And it was a 20-year-old right tackle. A lot of people don't remember. Matt Khalil was basically the guy at left tackle at USC. And Tyron was playing on the right, and he was the young guy. There were less questions about Matt Khalil, who turned out to just be an okay player. Yeah. Then actually his little brother, the center at USC, turned out to be a better football player than he did. But
ironically, all these years later, when we talk about the Cowboys missed.
Yeah. They missed them both.
It ain't JJ. It ain't JJ.
They missed them both, but they only get criticized for missing one.
No, they didn't miss on JJ because they got a Hall of Famer. They missed on TJ.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting is, and Jason Garrett was here today, that was his first pick, right? The first pick of the Jason Garrett era was Tyron Smith, and they hadn't drafted an offensive lineman in the first round since 1981 before that.
Right.
And it's like Jerry said, he made us think differently about the value of taking an offensive lineman in the first round, because then they did it with Travis Frederick, they did it with Zach Martin, and because they did that, and because of Garrett wanting to play a certain way, then that justified taking Ezekiel Elliott with the 4th overall pick. And Garrett said that first pick kind of defines your identity. It's symbolic of the kind of team you want to have. Yeah. And Tyron Smith certainly was that for him. And in a week's time, Brian Schottenheimer gets the chance to do the exact same thing with the 12th overall pick.
Yeah, Garrett wanted to go back to the 90s style, so he wanted to rebuild offensive lines, also focus on the running game, which is why they went and got Zeke and focused on that and paid Zeke ultimately, because he was still part of that 90 philosophy. So what about Tyler Guyton? What does that say?
We'll see. You can't write him off.
I mean, it's his second year.
You have to be concerned.
Because Tyler Smith worked. Tyler Smith is damn good.
For sure.
Okay, he's one of the most impressive young people to walk in this building I've seen since I've been covering the team. But Tyler Guyton,
and Tyron Smith said he's the next one.
Yeah,
Tyler Smith.
There's 2 things I take from that. The question about Guyton. One, they did say, okay, we know it's going to take a while, and if we're looking fairly at how many starts that he had in college. And then what he missed in training camp, there's a gap. So what kind of work are they doing in the offseason with him? What is he doing? And, man, if you're Brian Schottenheimer, hey, Tyron, can we hire you for a couple weeks to come on out to training camp and help this young man?
That's what the offensive line coach is for.
You know what?
They got a new coach, a great offensive line coach, offensive coordinator. They got a teacher from Kansas State. So you don't need former players to do that.
I'm going to push back on you.
Okay.
What did we just talk about? Hey, you had D. Ware out here helping you out. So at some point in time, I do think a third-party validation from dudes who were doing it. Hey, this is what it is.
But D. Ware was helping him as a defensive player, teach them about what defenders are going to do. We're talking about
Micah can do that now, right?
Right, that's what Micah's supposed to be doing, right?
Parcells would bring former Giants in.
Yeah, and the Cowboys hated it.
Right, but what was it? I thought
they hated it.
Here's a Hall of Fame coach.
I was there.
Come
they hated it.
I was there too.
Hated it.
But coaches are limited too. Coaches are limited. Yeah, I mean, players are not limited in how much they can help each other. To Newy's point, I mean, you can bring in someone to kind of work with them.
If you want to coach, be a coach.
He worked next to Zach Martin last year. Like,
be a coach.
Or
opposite.
If you want to coach, be a
Players
coach.
just wants to argue.
I don't. We're not supposed to agree. It's a show. We're not supposed to all have the same thought process.
That's fine, and you're wrong.
We're not.
You're wrong.
That's fine.
You're wrong.
Not,
I just listen to
let's
the guy.
let's just bring Dion. Let's bring everybody to every position and let the coaches go.
Well, they had a chance to bring Dion, but they
bring Troy Aikman back.
You've got
Roger back.
You got a
coach running back.
You got a first round
Michael
pick
Irvin
last
to
year.
coach receivers.
Then you got a first round pick last year. That, by all accounts, last year's first round pick was below standard.
Sean Lee to come back.
Ironically, I don't even think they should have let Tyron go, and they should have had him to work with Tyler last year.
That's
because
probably
Tyler
better if he was a teammate. I think he got more mileage out of him being a teammate and teaching than him coming in.
Byron was more interested in making $10 million and playing for Aaron Rodgers.
Fair.
So before we just throw Guyton out here, I'm trying to say the guy.
Why can't it just be a bad pick?
Well, it's too early to write it off.
I think
so.
I look at Terrence Steele, who got an awful rookie.
What's the standard level
for Tyler Guyton? Or for what you should be getting already
at left tackle,
to be a serviceable starting left tackle is what they need from Tyler Guyton.
Okay, we're not looking for serviceable.
I think
you lose a Hall of Famer. You're not looking for serviceable.
If he's serviceable, I think it's okay.
Your blindside protector.
He was not serviceable last year. I think if he upgrades to serviceable in year two and eventually takes other steps in year two, I think if he's serviceable, that's a step.
The worst indictment of Tyler Guyton, and he was changing levels right from college to pro and changing sides from right.
And we
to
all
left
knew that before they drafted him,
like Tyron Smith did successfully.
Yeah.
But the biggest indictment to me is at the end of the season when Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer and all these coaches were working for their jobs, they didn't want Guyton
on the field
because he wasn't ready.
They picked a veteran journeyman over him.
These are all legitimate and correct points, and that's why I bring up there. We're not going.
So that's got to affect the guy. That's got to motivate the guy. Like he's got to say, "Hey, I'm better than this."
This is a big year for him.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about putting resources that you have as a organization towards trying to make sure, hey, let's not let this guy fall down. How do we get him better? Obviously, there's got to be work from Guyton. There's got to be work with the offensive line coach. But if I'm sitting up here asking Tyron Smith to come in as a consultant for a couple weeks out in Oxnard, California, how is that bad?
And you know what's not bad either? They got the 12th pick in the draft.
Just back, yep.
They got a 12th pick in the draft. They brought in 2 first-round offensive linemen, at least 2.
Yeah.
Mimbo and the guy from Texas.
Banks.
They brought him in for visits, 30 national visits. If they're on a board, you can do that too.
I don't think they'll do that.
I said you can. Now, obviously, we don't know what they're going to do, but they brought him in for a reason. They're doing their due diligence on for a reason.
Sure.
They're not just
2 linemen to replace.
Yeah, they're doing their due diligence. Well, didn't they just sign another right guard? I mean, they got like 5 right guards.
They've got a lot of competition at right guard. But if you're looking for a step up with that first round pick, you could get there.
You're not taking it right.
To Clarence's point, in all fairness, Brian Schottenheimer did make a point of emphasis bringing in offensive line coaches, right? I mean, the offensive coordinator, Clayton Adams, is an offensive line coach, and so is the offensive line coach that they brought in from Kansas State. So Riley Dixon, right? So
I'm throwing all I can to try to. I guess I come from that old school of everybody deserves a chance, opportunity to fail. You know,
for sure.
Help if you give him everything and he still can't do it, then this just in some ways even helps you get to the decision quicker.
Right.
Either we trade the guy or we move on. But after 1 year, when they said Will McClay talked about it's going to take him a minute. All right.
I guess I would say
speed up the process.
I'm okay with Tyron Smith being part of it if the 2 coaches who are coaching the offensive line sign off on that.
Well, that's what consultant would mean. Like, hey, look, we're going to do this and this, but as a player and as a, sometimes hearing it from someone who's done it is a little bit
But what
different.
worked for him might not work for Tyler Guyton. And he might not need to hear 3 voices when he's trying to figure it out.
Tyler, what Tyron Smith has, size, strength, Guyton don't got. That body.
That punch ability.
He don't have it. I know, that's my point.
0.
So what made him special, but you know what, what he can do? You got all this time with 9 training camp. Go over Tyron Smith's house. Let's get some one-on-one. You know, they do it. DeMarcus Lawrence does it. We don't have to bring him to training camp, though. If you want him to tutor him, go.
So you just don't want an official capacity, but you want him to work with him on his own.
I don't have a problem with either way. I'm just saying that I don't know him coming to camp was going to make the difference. It's all I'm saying.
I think he likes your suggestion.
I was addressing listen, there's nothing wrong with getting outside help. That's what you do. Yeah. These guys get outside help all the time. They got tight end camps. They got offensive line camps. There's a ton of, as Mike McCarthy's, a ton of resources out here to be coached. You got Big Duke over there.
And he's working with Duke,
and he works with some of the best offensive linemen in the league. So he's been under Duke when he was drafted. Before
Duke Merriweather.
Yes, he's been with Duke since the end of the season. He's getting help.
This is a huge offseason for Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, he's getting help.
I'm not ready to write him off yet, to be honest.
I'm concerned.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Early indications are not encouraging.
For sure. And he's also raw, though. Hasn't had a lot of experience anyway.
Well,
I said all that. He's changing levels.
He's getting paid like a first-round pick.
Because he was a first-round pick.
Thank you. So all that.
But
they decided.
I was going to say, he's a raw.
He's taking a check. He took that starting job.
You don't have a choice.
He taking a check. He took that starting job.
It's on him.
He wanted to put it out there.
It's on him.
He's on Dak's blind side. That's the job.
They've talked about it. They went over their skis a little bit.
Okay, that's the job.
They went over their skis a little bit with him because he's so raw. They shouldn't have just thrown him in the fire. They should have more of an insurance plan in mind.
That is the job.
And Mike McCarthy would say that wasn't our plan. Like the worst thing to happen to us in training camp was we lost our veteran left tackle that we planned to have.
Who was the journeyman?
Iduka or what was
Chuma
Edoga, yeah.
Who's the journeyman?
Chuma Edoga.
Who's in Jacksonville now?
He's not a journeyman?
Yeah, he's a journeyman.
That's what I call him.
Yeah, he's in Jacksonville now.
But I would say McCarthy would say that was not their plan to have Tyler Guyton just be given the job in training camp.
And I also don't think having Chuma as your insurance plan was probably the best ultimate result anyways. But
Tyron will be missed. We'll just tie a bow on this segment. Tyron Smith will be missed.
He talked more today than he did all 10 years he was here.
Dang.
I tell you,
you just had to bring that
little parting shot.
I tell you.
He tied the bow.
He did talk more today than he did all 10 years.
He did. It's a fact.
Those are facts.
That's okay.
Because he tied the bow.
You don't judge a guy based on that. He was still a great player.
I agree.
Would you love a little more cooperation? Insight out of the guy? Sure.
I think he's a first ballot Hall of Fame, or I think he's a Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's going to get in the first ballot. I think he's a ring honor guy. I think he was one of the best left tackles during his time, and he was a all-decade team. 2010. He is all of that.
Okay.
He still talking more today than he did all his entire career.
I see where it's going today. We got Salty Dog, Clarence Hill here, DLS, Hall of Famer Ed Werder, WFAA TV. DLS is on Joe Hoyt.
They don't like the truth,
This
people.
is the Media Mash. When we come back, Dak Prescott looking good. He was at the press conference today. Let's dive into that next right here on the Media Mash at DallasCowboys.com.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Hot mix waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take your steak, cornbread, cobbers, pot pie, and potatoes, and next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
This is Nate Newton from Hanging with the Boys, and Wingstop is here to bring the flavor to game day as the official wings of the Dallas Cowboys. Order now by downloading the Wingstop app or order it online at wingstop.com.
Hey, Cowboys fans, a 2024 football season is here, and SeatGeek is here to help you experience all the action. SeatGeek makes it easy to find tickets so you can be a part of all the touchdown celebrations this season. Whether you're buying or selling tickets to Cowboys football games or to any other live event, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Dallas Cowboys. The most disruptive idea in ticketing? A ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. They sure make game day special, and for every purchase of the new Tyson Cowboys Nuggets this holiday season, Tyson Foods will donate $1 to the Salvation Army up to $100,000. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash, Joe Hoyt, Ed Werder, got Clarence Hill. I'm Newy Scruggs. Press conference for Tyron Smith, retirement today. Signs a contract one day to be with the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones were there on the dais. Tyron did a lot of talking. Doesn't do a lot of talking, but he did today. Read a statement out there. I got to talk to his mother afterwards, and she talked about how proud she was of him, and he'll be missed.
You know what was funny? I thought when he was reading uncomfortably from his script, making his retirement announcement and going through it kind of chronologically, and he says, and then I met the person who changed my life. And I thought he was talking about his wife.
Yeah.
He was talking about Joe Panos,
his agent.
and what was the first thing I thought?
What?
Jerry knew Joe Panos' name.
Well, Jerry made a nod at that, too.
I knew Joe Panos' name.
I don't know David Mulugeta.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons'
BS.
agent,
And Joe Panos is more highly thought. I mean, David Mulugeta is more highly thought of.
Hey, would you give Jerry an 8-year contract for a Hall of Famer?
Yeah. I'm more highly thought of Mulugeta.
Salty Dog is back here.
Keeping it real is back.
Okay.
But we're having these reunions of, recently great Cowboys players
talking
coming
about
out
LC,
to watch another team
my boy
leave.
Leo Collins.
LC looks lighter.
They're all lighter.
Zach Martin looks
when
lighter.
you stop playing the game, stop
Already.
Wait.
Well, actually, Bill Romanowski says two things. Either you get fit or you get fat.
Right.
When you leave the game here. And speaking of fit, Dak Prescott right now.
Well, Bill Romanowski, he got off them roids, so don't do that.
Salty.
It's the facts. Y'all don't like the truth. You know Romanowski.
He ain't wrong about that one.
You know Romanowski was on them roids.
Yeah, but he's still working out.
Oh, yeah, he got off them roids, too. That's why he lost weight.
Still working out, man. Got nutrition.
How you bring up Bill Romanowski to this conference?
He did. Not I.
I did when Bill Romanowski said, because it was a Super Bowl, Radio Row. He's pitching his nutritional products.
Roid free.
Get fit or get fat.
Nutritional
product.
I remember him well.
Roid free.
49ers, Broncos.
I used them, so they're good.
Oh.
Roid free. I used them back in
creatine.
You just do the dirtiest work.
How's that dirty? The dude is a Roy guy. That's a fact.
Yes.
I think you were going to Dak Prescott.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Ed. Thank you. Dak Prescott.
Not on Roy's.
He looks fit.
Looks good.
He always looks fit. When does he ever not look like he's in shape?
He admitted today we did a little walk-off session before Tad tried to break us up.
Salty.
They're doing the most.
We were fine. We were talking to Dak, right? Me, Calvin, and Nate sitting over talking. We were talking about the crawfish boil, talking about his weight, talking about running, all that stuff.
Anyway.
And then Tad walks over there to end it.
It's got to end at some point. Somebody has to.
You got
tell
Zach.
end it.
You got Jerry. You got DeMarcus Ware.
In 20 minutes,
you got all
going to tell you.
You don't have to be over here trying to end it, thinking Dak gonna give us something. You got plenty of things to worry about. Leave us alone. We're not positive. He's a grown man. He doesn't need a babysitter.
So what
Does that make me salty?
So what did he tell you?
Anyway, he said he and his wife said they recalibrated his weight, redistributed his weight, which he told us last week.
Weight transfer.
I said, you already had big legs, because he tried to say he moved his weight from his chest to his legs. I said, you already had big legs. He said, but yeah, my legs are more muscle. I have more muscle. They're more muscle now than they were before. So he says he may be 5 pounds lighter. He's always around 230. He may be 5 pounds lighter, but he has redistributed his weight from his chest to his legs. He's doing more leg stuff, obviously coming off of the torn hamstring. He's also admitted that because of the torn hamstring, rehabbing the torn hamstring, he told us last week, he's running more.
Oh.
He's running more, doing more running, doing more sprinting. And he also told us last week, not today, we were at the gala on Friday night, which we talked about, that he can run and he needs to run. That's part of his game. That needs to be part of his game to be able to run. Just like a shot. He's not necessarily doing the zone read stuff, but extending plays and doing things when it's third down. Because I can tell you that Dak turned down opportunities, since the ankle injury, to make plays with his feet, to stay there and throw the ball. And I'm saying, well, there are plays there, you need to go and make them. Get the first down.
They need to have somebody else who can run the football effectively and not be counting on a 32-year-old quarterback to be making plays with.
No doubt, but
find to relocate the pocket,
right?
All that sort of stuff. But he's not a dual threat quarterback.
The 2.3 when he gets above the 2.3. You know about the 2.3. They still on the 2.3.
You know about 17 games? He needs to start 17 games. That's what he needs to prioritize.
In those 17 games, you got the 2.3.
That element was missing last year too, I think, frankly.
Yeah.
A lot of it. And if you go back
he had his year before when he was an MVP candidate. He did more of that.
I was going to say,
you go back to that Detroit game when he avoided the sack and,
Yeah, I was going to say, CeeDee Lamb's one of the best kind of off-kilter, like, oh, hey, this play's going this way receivers I think there are in the league. So that you're going to have to need that.
I thought it was interesting when Tyron Smith was giving out the platitudes. He talked about Dak Prescott and said, "You're my QB1 forever."
He mentioned Romo earlier, but he did not call him his QB1 forever.
He did not.
And he attributed his love of Dak for the deep feelings and relationships he has throughout the locker room, that they'll be lifelong friends. And everybody seems to talk about Dak like that. I mean, Zach Martin said something very similar.
Yeah, he said quarterback. I mean, Dak is a salted earth guy. We talked about the leadership, and it's natural. It's not fake with him. And he's the same thing with the media. You know, one thing I've noted, we've all noted, that he sits in the locker room every day. He comes in every day, and he'll talk to you not just on his day, but he'll talk. And he treats he's always treated everybody the same way. And you talk about leadership, he's always the first one in. You talk about him always being healthy. He's always been healthy, but been in shape. But he treats people like people. He's never been too big for his britches.
He also answers questions too.
Yeah,
and I think he actually gives insight and honestly. And he even had a moment at the gala the other day where like there was a question I don't think he was necessarily too thrilled about, and he kind of had a salty response. And even mid-answer, he goes, "Yeah, to be honest, I'm trying to be more of an optimist. I probably shouldn't have said it like that anyway." So he's had this self-reflection.
No, it was Calvin. Calvin asked him about being injury prone.
You named him.
He tried to. He tried to say you had the finger. That's my own thing. Well, you had the finger and you had the ankle. Getting your ankle fractured because the way someone tackled you on turf, breaking your thumb on a helmet, and pulling a hamstring to me is not the example of injury prone. Yes, you miss games.
Yeah,
but that's not. He's always hurt, or that's because he does the finger. Like how many quarterbacks have hit the hand on helmet and busted a finger or
all the time?
It's all the time. That's not it. But we as media group it all together, and so he was salty with Calvin on that.
He's missed most of the last 5 seasons, so it's fair to say that injuries are a concern with this quarterback.
Injury is a concern, but that doesn't make you injury prone. But yes, is that salty? He said Dak was salty. I'm just saying his point of view.
No, Dak is salt of the earth. Are you salty?
I keep it real. I've been trying to be honest.
I know.
I'm just trying to be honest, and I'm just giving you the real. I'm not sugarcoating it. That because you don't sugarcoat things that make you salty, okay, so be it.
It is amazing, and Dak said this, right? It's amazing that he's one of the oldest players on this team and going into his 10th season, which is wild, as a starter.
Yeah, and what's so crazy about the injuries, if you go through his first 5-6 seasons, he'd never missed a game.
Right. Mm-hmm. Under Jason Garrett, he never missed a game.
Never missed a
Mike
game.
McCarthy gets here, he's gone. Thirds of the first season,
and it's all fluke, different things. But it's not like Romo had the collarbone and rebroke the collarbone because once you do it, you do it again. It's not like that. They had the back, which is recurring, and once you get a back injury, it's never getting healed. It's always going. You're still dealing with that back. Just like with Tyron, and we talk about Tyron, you talk about injury prone. You're talking about a guy who has only had 4 full seasons in the NFL. Okay, during his Hall of Fame career. Since 2015, he has not played a full season. He's missed at least 3 games a season since 2015. That's more injury prone than what Dak has gone through.
Well, and doesn't that, when you look at Tyron Smith, the physical specimen that he is, even today, and you realize how many games he's missed because of injuries, you're like, what a violent game this is that it could do something to take that guy off the field on a consistent basis.
Sometimes you can be too wound tight, and I don't know. Maybe his body's so tight, it's so sturdy that it's prone to things like that. I don't know because I'm trying
a neck problem, right?
Well, he had a neck, but it was a back, all of that, and then but some of those things that were reoccurring. But I'm just saying that because he's a Greek god, he's built like a block of granite. And
he talks like one.
Before Tyron Smith showed up, it was, and we've covered a lot of offensive linemen. They were fat boys. They were big boys. I mean, no one was built like him. I mean, even after Zach Martin and Gracie, he's not built like Tyron Smith.
Right.
Tyler, Nate, those were big boys. You look at Derek Kennard, them big boys. Tyron Smith looks like a tight end playing left tackle. His body is so, svelte.
V-shape,
he got
Stephen Jones.
And people talk about him having a 6-pack.
Yeah, he's 330 with a 6-pack.
Yeah.
And he's got 37-inch arms.
Well, we were talking about, you either get fit or you get fat, right? Zach Martin's going to slim down, and he already is doing that.
Who said that?
You either get fit or you get fat?
Yeah.
Who did you said that?
No, who said that?
Newy said it.
Who said it? Who did Newy get it?
Oh, Romanowski. Right.
Make your point.
Yeah.
Make your point.
Tyron, though,
King
like
Messi.
we are not going to see Tyron like slim down or anything. No, that guy is just going to be jacked, I think, forever.
I like what he said. He's got to fight with his kids. Now he's got to wrestle with his boys. Normal sized boys.
Big boys.
Let's take a break. I need a break.
You need to tell him when to stop talking.
You want some creatine? What you
just
want?
like Tad.
You want some Romanowski
break.
steroids? What you need?
Next week is the draft.
Yeah.
What are you hearing? You insiders, what are you hearing at the Cowboys if they stay at 12? We'll do that next with Joe Hoyt. We've got Ed Werder. We've got King Messi, Clarence Hill. I'm Newy Scruggs. This is the Media Mash.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Hey Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/cowboys to get started.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Media Mash.
Welcome back to the Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com. We've got Clarence Hill, we've got Ed Werder, we've got Joe Hoyt. I'm merely Newy Scruggs. The draft is next week in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Dallas Cowboys have the 12th overall pick. Brian Schottenheimer is the new head coach, so Will McClay, who's the player personnel director, along with Stephen Jones and staff, have been putting in the work here. So we'll just go around the table. Joe, what your sources are telling you right now, Cowboys pick number 12, what do you anticipate?
Yeah, the thing I would anticipate is, he goes hook 'em already. I think a pass catcher is probably what I would put my logical bet on. I think they want to pair someone next to CeeDee Lamb, and I think if you look at the way the draft is structured, if you're not getting him at 12, I don't know if you're getting him at 44 in terms of a viable instant impact candidate that could be opposite of CeeDee Lamb. So I look at a guy like Tedero McMillan or Matthew Golden as potential candidates, maybe Emeka Ibuka in a trade down situation. The one wild card I kind of keep coming back to, though, is what if they don't want to get with that first pick a Robin for CeeDee Lamb, but if they want to get a Robin for Micah Parsons in the long run. I know they signed Dante Fowler, but you saw what the Eagles did. Shamar Stewart's kind of a guy that has all the talent in the world, but no production. And I think NFL coaches love to say, here, let me put my hands on him, and I'll take him to places that he hasn't been yet. I don't know how successful that usually is. Could he be Danielle Hunter, or could he be Vernon Golston? I don't know. That's kind of the wild card I'm looking at, but I think receiver is still the logical bet.
Ibuka, guy from a championship program.
That's right.
What's wrong with that? Ed?
I've been told that if one of the two top receivers is there, that's where they'd like to go. If not, then they'd take the best offensive lineman, best pass rusher, or best corner. I think they're more concerned about corner than we recognize. Mm-hmm. We've been so fascinated by, hey, they need a dynamic playmaker or two on offense. And I think they feel that way as well. But don't overlook their concern about the cornerback positions, especially slot corner, without the great Jordan Lewis, one of your favorite clients.
What player? What corner?
I don't know which corner.
Will Johnson, Jody Barron.
You know what? Will Johnson, isn't he going to concern people
because he
already
run.
Concerned about his speed, coming off a foot injury where he only played 6 games and he wouldn't run for anybody?
Yeah, I don't want to. Only slow corner I want is Everson Walls. Cubby, that's the only one I want.
I know they want long arm guys like Dan Quinn did at corner with great speed.
And that's the problem with Jahdae Barron is that he doesn't have long arms, but the dude is a playmaker and could be in the slot. That's the one thing, but it doesn't really fit.
And so piggybacking on that, and I love Jahdae Barron. I think he's a playmaker. I think he has a high floor. I think he's can't miss prospect. He's going to help a team.
He's Brian Branch, I think.
Yeah, he's going to help a team regardless. I'm not a philosophy to draft a nickel corner, slot corner with 12. And I don't think the Cowboys are. If he's going to be outside, one thing they do have a need outside.
Well, they could move.
Yeah.
Land inside if they draft an outside.
Yeah, they got a need outside because Diggs is he won't be there to start the season. But just getting back to what Joe's talking about, and I've for weeks been saying it's going to be Tet. It's going to be Tet. It's going to be Tet. But just the more I drill down, the more I think about it, I think Golden's speed, Golden's route running pairs so well with CD. And I just think that 4.29, that route running, big game player, he has a lot of upside because he was what I would say a late bloom. He didn't really bloom until the second half of the season in Texas was Isaiah Bond got hurt. There's a lot of production that untapped production that can be there for him. I think he's the perfect fit as well. Yeah. I would move for Genty. I think they would move up. They would take Genty if he was there, but he's not going to be there. Where they're at 12, I'm seeing receiver. I would say Golden. But, yeah, they want to move back. Steven said it on the radio. They would love to move back, but I don't know if the market's going to be there for them to get value in a trade back.
I think the interesting couple of quick stats on McMillan. We know, I mean, he's got prototypical size, right? And he has ridiculous catch radius. He's acrobatic. But he doesn't have great speed. Like, he doesn't have elite speed. Are the Cowboys going to be scared of that? But listen, one stat I want to give you here. Okay. He's a chain mover. He led the FBS with 145 receiving first downs over the last 3 seasons. His 60 receiving first downs in 2023, third most in the FBS behind Roma Duze and Malik Neighbors, both first-round picks.
Incredible production.
Yes, the guy could play. Let me just throw this one in. No offense, Joe. You're a little young.
That's fine. I know where I stand.
But Alvin Harper.
Popo Joe.
When they brought in Alvin Harper to go with Michael Irvin, he wasn't the speedster. They got that from Alexander Wright, and then they kept bringing in different speedster guys. Could we see Tet in that type of role, an Alvin Harper to a Michael Irvin, or am I trying to connect too much to old Cowboy?
Well, the problem with, Golden's a great speed guy, right? He ran 4.29, the fastest time at the combine, but he doesn't have height. He's only 5'11"?
Yeah, he's about 5'11".
He's not small, though. He's not 5'8".
He's bigger than Brandon Cooks.
But he's not as big as McMillan. McMillan, 6'5", body type-wise, is more like Alvin Harper to Michael Irvin to CeeDee Lamb. But do you trust that he's going to be able to get open? He made a lot of downfield plays, but he's not open. Is Dak going to be comfortable throwing at a guy who's not necessarily open? Now, in the end, Steve Young said one of the greatest things ever. He said, the difference between playing quarterback in college football and playing quarterback in pro football, in college football, everybody's open.
Right.
In the NFL, nobody's open. You got to throw them open.
Yeah. One thing about this offense, one criticism is that it's so many, the lack of separation.
We don't know what the offense is.
Well, he's going to be a little Mike McCarthy, but it's going to run him. But one thing to criticize this receiving core in the passing game over the past few years was the lack of separation. And this is another guy that doesn't get separation. And, you're not going to out-athlete and out-bully guys in the NFL like you did in college. That can't be your calling card. Your only calling card. That can't be your main calling card.
They also said Jerry Rice wasn't fast enough. They also said Emmitt Smith wasn't fast enough. So
true.
Yeah, they're Hall of Famers.
Right.
Yeah. And Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. So, So every 6th-round pick going to be Tom Brady, too.
This discussion.
Now I'm being salty.
Yeah.
But anyway, but all I'm saying is, I'm kidding. This is humor. But, I like Ted. I like a guy, a big body. I don't think Dak has had that in this offense, and I don't think he's had a guy that can make contested catches. But it's too many times his receivers. I didn't like the slants and stop routes to Brandon Cooks. It's too many times.
Is McMillan like Dez?
He can be. Yeah. No. I think.
I don't know if he has Dez's passion. He has Dez's athletic ability, but I don't know.
Got to trouble you when you're investing a 12th pick in the guy who says he doesn't want to watch film anymore than he has to.
I don't know if Dez's passion, but But again, I don't. Those are the two options. I think, and there's no question.
I just meant in terms of being athletic when the ball's in the air, competing for the ball, and not necessarily creating separation. That to me is like Dez.
Yeah, and this discussion is fascinating though, because this is exactly, I think, the discussion is going to happen in the Cowboys war room when it comes down to it. Because I think both these guys are going to be available, and if you look at what Stephen Jones kind of talked about over in the owners' meeting, they want to get explosive. Someone opposite of CeeDee Lamb. Well, explosive, yes. You think 4.29 speed, even though Matthew Golden doesn't really play with 4.29 speed. But you think of also just big plays. And actually, Tedero McMillan had more yards per catch than Matthew Golden did last year. He had 16.5. And I think when you have a big play guy that his thing is going up and making 50-50 balls, you can push the ball downfield. That can be explosive too. It depends on what kind of flavor you want.
And it'd be interesting how much do you go back to not last season but 2 years ago when they were good and before their coach left and they were a top 25 team. He's a good player. Both players are very good. If they stay at 12 and you say one of these two guys is your pick here, I don't think that. I don't think they'll be off base, but my goodness gracious, we're talking about this, and what if it happens like it did a couple years ago when, they take the corner from Alabama, Denver takes the corner from Alabama, then JC goes to Carolina, and the corners you've been talking about are gone. What if the receivers are gone? It'd be interesting. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
And then you trade down for Micah Parsons.
Got to have somebody want to trade up, and this draft is not special, not filled with special players, and we don't know if guys want to trade up. And again, once you try to trade back, are you going to get the value?
And you talk about the Cowboys on offense, 33 touchdowns last year. They were the second worst team in the red zone to the Giants. But don't overlook the fact that only Carolina allowed more points. So they were bad on both sides of the ball last year. When you look at all the numbers and break it all down, red zone, home record, point differential, it's amazing they even considered bringing Mike McCarthy back.
Did you say they were home wreckers?
Home wreck.
I said the records. Yeah, they were home records. Nobody was happy at home. They wasn't happy at home last year, Newy. They was a home record.
That's not what a home record is.
But no, seriously, they got needs of cornerback. They got needs of running back. They got needs of receiver. Defensive tackle, they still need help there. Linebacker.
Let's end this. Thank you.
Home record.
Thank you.
Home record.
That's what they need.
You called the Cowboys home records.
You called them that.
Home records.
Thank you.
Misapplied the term.
Most trusted. We'll get a second question from now on at all press conferences. Second question. Then we got Ed Werder. Joe Hoyt. I'm Newy Scruggs.
Get the more news.
Or
yes.
Chris Speed produces it. Jazz, Josh, everybody a part of this. Thank you so much for watching Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?